Dinosaurs, prehistoric monsters, huge, terrifying. I've always loved them, always been fascinated by them. What's mind-boggling is that these extraordinary creatures roamed where we walk today. But what if I could go back in time, millions of years into the past, to the magical, dangerous world they lived in? I wonder, what would I make of them? Face to face. Oh, you can just pull up here? Thanks. Imagine being able to explore their world and move with them. It's just a dream, I suppose, but... well, I must get on with my life. Mind you, you never know. For 180 million years, dinosaurs dominated our planet. In this series, I'm going to be transported back to the different eras of these awe-inspiring creatures, to immerse myself in their amazing, magical world. Hey, don't do that. With the help of experts and the latest scientific discoveries from our time, we'll put their power and strength to the test. Unravel their remarkable story from humble origins at the dawn of the dinosaurs to see how they evolved a dazzling and bizarre array of forms to become giants and produce some of the scariest predators ever to have stalked the Earth. Until their ultimate demise, wiped from the face of the planet in a single catastrophe of unimaginable power. Come with me as I travel back in time to encounter the dinosaur. For millions of years, dinosaurs ruled the Earth. And during their reign, shifting continents and changing climates allowed many different species to evolve. Last time, I was in the Cretaceous, one of the hottest times in the history of life on Earth. The climate was 10 degrees warmer than today, the perfect conditions for the infamous raptors to hunt giant grazers like iguanodontids. Tonight, I'm coming closer to home, to a period near the end of the dinosaurs' reign. And they've saved their A-listers for last. For this period is ruled over by some of the most chilling, awe-inspiring, and enigmatic animals that have ever lived. We've arrived at a key stage in dinosaur history, the moment that evolution produces the most terrifying killer ever to stalk the Earth. It's 68 million years ago. We're in the era known as the late Cretaceous. The dinosaurs' reign still has another 2 million years to run. They are thriving. This landscape around me is a place you might nowadays call North America. And if you look carefully enough, this world is starting to appear a little more familiar than before. Flowering plants have taken over, fueling an explosion in insect life. And amid the conifers, we can see trees that we'd know today, like maples and oaks. So much for the plant life, but the animals of this age are far from familiar. Oh, and look, there, at the waterhole. One of the most iconic species of the era. The magnificent three-horned triceratops. There's a group of them enjoying a pause for some water. And over there, that extraordinary looking creature is not actually a dinosaur at all, but one of their flying cousins known as a pterosaur. They look so ungainly, don't they? Carting around those huge wings made of skin. But if you were to see one in the... there, like that, there. See? They're so graceful when they're in the air. Something spooked them. I don't think it's me. This is the most fearsome dinosaur of them all, the Tyrannosaurus rex. Its name actually is doubly royal. Tyrannos is Greek for king, and rex is Latin for king. And you have to say, he really does look very much like the ruler of this place. A truly formidable beast. It's 12 meters in length and 4 meters in height, and weighs in at 8 tons. He's basically a double-decker bus on legs, but with sharper teeth. The product of millions of years of evolution, but at just 68 million years BC, he actually lives closer in time to the iPhone than he does to the Diplodocus of the Jurassic era. Since their time, a 250 million years in the past, the giant supercontinent of Pangaea has been gradually splitting apart. As it split, it isolated distinct populations of dinosaurs in different corners of the world. And it's this isolation that allowed them to diversify. In what is today China, 68 million years ago, we find the feathered and beaked oviraptor. In Russia, the Olorotitan ruled with its colorful head crest. And in South America, the giant Argentinosaurus. Weighing up to 100 tons, it's one of the largest animals the world has ever seen. T-Rex fossils have only ever been found in what is now North America. At the time, the continent itself was split in half by a vast inland sea. And it's on the western island where our T-Rex lives. And it is not on its own. Slightly terrifyingly, it's estimated that at any one given time, 20,000 of these T-Rexes were roaming around. That means that over 2.5 billion T-Rexes once walked the Earth. That's roughly the population of Europe, North America, and Africa combined. Let's take a careful look, shall we? Those arms are frankly tiny. They look really silly. I wonder what they're for. All right. Clearly touched a nerve there. I should imagine those huge hind legs do most of the shifting around, and they also act as a kind of balancing point between the bulk of the body and that huge sweeping tail. And then this extraordinary head, just packed with teeth, which I can imagine would do a serious amount of damage. But there is something rather curious about those teeth. If we compare him to our Jurassic-era predator, the Allosaurus, those teeth are really thin and sharp, perfect for slicing through meat like steak knives. They were ideal for gouging out great lumps of flesh like a meat cleaver, thanks to Allosaurus's amazing gaping mouth. But T-Rexes are much thicker and rounder, ideal for heavy-duty crunching. It's clearly evolved to eat meat, with its piercing teeth and strong jaws, which raises a question. Was he better suited not for killing live prey, but for feeding off dead bodies? Clues could lie in the modern-day cousins of Tyrannosaurus, vultures. Vultures rely on strong, dexterous muscles in their necks when they tear flesh off bone. The same muscles are found in our T-Rex. And they're not the only similarity. Vultures and T-Rex also have an S shape to their necks, which provides leverage when ripping back to tear off chunks of meat. They also share sharp, versatile talons to grip on their prey. So it seems our king of beasts was perfectly built for scavenging. But really, was T-Rex not the hunter-killer certain movies have led us to believe? To help me find out is one of the world's leading dinosaur experts, Dr. David Hone from Queen Mary University of London. Hello, David. My good... Oh, dear. Mind you, none of us look our best when we're tearing into our dinners, do we? I mean, this is a dead Triceratops, so it's scavenging. Yeah. That's not very regal.
They are scavengers, but they were also predators too. So, like almost all large carnivores, they were killing things actively as well as taking whatever was available if they found it. And of course, so many modern species are both predators and scavengers. So hyenas are always the skulking scavenger, but actually they predate most of their prey. And people think of the lions as, you know, the king of beasts that kills everything, and actually they're very adept at stealing food off hyenas. Tyrannosaurs and Tyrannosaurus has particularly strong, thick teeth and an extremely powerful bite, and they're capable of biting through even very thick bone. But actually at the front, they have this little row of actually very small and flattened teeth. And what they're actually doing is a form of feeding called scrape feeding. They're literally pushing the teeth down onto the bone and pulling back.
Yes, we've got some evidence of that on a fossilized Triceratops bone, where you can see bite marks left by a scavenging tyrannosaur.
We find these long rows of parallel stripes only on areas where the muscles attach to bone. So they're very carefully feeding in just some areas and just stripping the muscle off to eat it.
Oh, I've done that. And we do with biscuits.
Yeah,
I could say
take the top off and
biscuits.
scrape it away. Exactly what they're doing.
My heavens. T-Rex is clearly an expert scavenger, skilled at husking meat from bone. But he's undoubtedly interested in live flesh too. And if I hang around long enough, we might be able to see just what kind of a hunter T-Rex is. I've traveled back in time to a magical and mysterious world, on the western shores of a vast inland sea in a place you'd call today North America, home to some of the most iconic dinosaurs of all time. We're in the late Cretaceous period, and we've been on the trail of the most feared predator, T-Rex. This one has been scavenging an old carcass, but just now he's picked up the scent of something far more appetizing. Fresh meat. This is one of the flying cousins of the dinosaurs, a pterosaur. No doubt there's plenty of juicy meat on those flying muscles. What an incredible sight. That was Quetzalcoatlus, the largest ever of the pterosaurs. He may have looked a bit ungainly on the ground, but once he took to the air, it's like a small plane, and about the same size, too. Pterosaurs like this lived alongside the dinosaurs throughout their history. But the mystery is, how how did they cheat gravity and take to the air like that? To answer that, we'll have to travel even further back in time. 170 million years ago, in the late Jurassic period, the Isle of Skye off the west coast of Scotland was a warm, tropical land, dotted with lagoons. Scroll forward to the present, and a team from Edinburgh University, led by American paleontologist Professor Steve Brusatte, made a record-breaking discovery.
It was right here on this stretch of coast on the Isle of Skye where we found Yark, the new species of pterosaur. One of our students noticed a jawbone and some teeth protruding from that rock. We took a look and we saw there was actually an entire head in there, and then we started to take it out of the rock and realized that head connected to a neck and connected to a body and connected to a skeleton.
Steve took that skeleton back to the lab. And it turned out to be something very special indeed. The fossil of a 170-million-year-old flying monster. The largest Jurassic pterosaur ever found.
This is a really important fossil. I think it is a crown jewel fossil for us here in Scotland. It's not just a beautiful fossil, because it happens to be one of the only really good pterosaur skeletons from the middle part of the Jurassic anywhere in the world.
Microscopic analysis revealed this creature to have not yet fully grown, but it was already enormous.
There's one wing, and here's the other more complete wing. We have the upper arm bone, the forearm bones, and so if both wings were stretched out, this wingspan would have been something like 2.5 meters. And that's wider than a king-size bed.
Steve's discovery shows the giants of the sky were around millions of years earlier than first thought.
Up until we found this fossil, we used to think that pterosaurs never reached those sizes until tens of millions of years later in the Cretaceous period.
The fossil even revealed a secret as to how they flew. A secret that can be counted on just one finger.
I think the most beautiful part of the fossil is the little hand. And we have 3 little fingers. Each one has a very sharp hooked claw on the end. And then a much bigger 4th finger, the ring finger. And it's that one finger that anchored the wing. And the wings of pterosaurs were a giant sail of skin. So very different than the wings of birds or bats.
Modern-day birds have wings with feathers attached to bones. Bats' forelimbs form webbed wings, and to fly, they flap all 4 spread-out fingers. But the pterosaur used just that extended ring finger, acting as a mast that stretched along the leading edge of the wing. And that finger holds the answer to how anything so massive could stay in the air.
If I were to look at my ring finger, say in an X-ray, it would be really solid inside, but not pterosaurs. The bone is basically hollow. You can see the walls of bone are pretty thin, and the middle would have just been completely full of air. In fact, that's true of almost the entire pterosaur skeleton. These animals were big, but they were featherweight, and that helped them stay aloft when they were flying.
So, hollow bones allowed pterosaurs to keep their weight down and grow large. And they continued to grow in size right up to the time I'm now in the late Cretaceous. By then, Quetzalcoatlus, a pterosaur the height of a giraffe, had become the largest animal that has ever taken to the skies.
So Coatlus is one of the most extraordinary animals that has ever evolved in the entire 4.5 billion year history of the Earth. This was a reptile that was the size of a fighter jet. Its wingspan was over 10 meters wide. It's the biggest thing that has ever flown in the entire history of life, as far as we know.
I mean, you'd have to say that is so impressive when it's on the ground as well. I mean, it's huge. I believe 20 feet, something like that, about the size of a giraffe in height.
Yep.
Amazing. Absolutely extraordinary. But how does something like that actually take off?
First of all, an animal this size is actually only in the realms of 250, 300 kilos. Enormous, but a giraffe that size is a ton. So not that heavy for that wingspan. And secondly, birds take off with their legs. So they actually jump with their legs and then start flapping.
So it's a spring?
Yes, but they're going to take off with just their forelimbs. Their wing muscles, which they already use for flapping and are therefore extremely strong, it's going to use to launch off the ground. So it's jumping with its big muscles.
Let's see if I can make it show us. Fly, my pretty! Well, that's what I call a successful takeoff. Extraordinary. Well, it seems our T-Rex didn't have much chance of catching our Quetzalcoatlus. And to be honest, it wouldn't really have been a fair fight anyway. But T-Rex wasn't the only predator around the world at this time. And each was supremely built for its own choice of prey. In prehistoric North Africa, Spinosaurus uses its long snout to pluck fish from coastal shores. In ancient Mongolia, Saurornithoides has excellent eyesight to spot small mammals scurrying around in its desert home. And in Argentina, Maposaurus hunted massive sauropods in wide-open plains by working together in packs. And here in North America, our T-Rex is eyeing up something a little more grounded. A juicy triceratops. At least it can't take flight and escape into the air. Even so, to track down, catch and kill one of these armored beasts is going to be far from easy. So how did T-Rex choose its prey? That is something Professor Roger Benson of Oxford University is trying to find out. He's going inside the mind of a very famous T-Rex called Stan to get a sense of how it sensed the world around it. Stan was excavated in 1992 from South Dakota in America. His bones were sold in 2020 for an eye-watering $32 million, making Stan not just the best preserved T-Rex ever found, but the most expensive dinosaur in the world. This is a full-sized replica of Stan's skull.
One of the things I'm really interested in is how we can use information from the bones to understand the sense organs of this animal.
Sense organs don't fossilize well. So Roger has just the skull to study for clues as to how T-Rex might have used its sight, hearing and smell.
This is the eye socket, about 5 times as wide as a human socket, and it could have housed a potentially massive eyeball. An eye socket of this size has potential to give T-Rex really excellent vision. And one of the interesting features of the eye sockets of T-Rex is you can see the skull is wide at the back, it's narrow at the front. And what this means is the eye would have looked slightly forwards, allowing it to focus on things straight ahead of it, to get some idea of depth. And what that might tell us is that T-Rex might have been a relatively effective visual predator.
So it had good eyesight, but what other supersense could help Stan hunt? Clues could lie in the animal's brain. So Roger scanned the inside of Stan's skull and used a state-of-the-art 3D printer to build a life-size, 3-dimensional replica Tyrannosaur brain.
It looks like a kind of wacky alien spider, but in fact, all of these structures coming out of the side, those are nerves, blood vessels, and other structures that emerge from around the brain.
It may be small, but this life-sized model brain can shed light on how T-Rex sensed the world around it.
That way is forwards, towards the snout. That way is backwards, towards the neck. And one of the structures we find at the front of the olfactory bulbs, the part of the brain that processes information on smell. And there's really no predatory dinosaur that has proportionally bigger olfactory bulbs than T-Rex itself.
Which means T-Rex had the best sense of smell of any dinosaur yet discovered. And acute 2020 forward-facing vision. All the super senses needed to see or sniff out prey, day or night. Which raises the question, was T-Rex, this fearsome predator, actually a nighttime hunter? Well, one thing you can say about the late Cretaceous is there's no spill or pollution from street lighting or big cities, is there? But let's add our own light. There. Now. Whoa. There he is. Look at that. And these super senses they have, they lead you to believe that maybe he was nocturnal?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that's really going to help. You don't need amazing eyesight in the daylight. Our eyesight's pretty good, and yet their eyes are massively bigger, so they would operate very well at night. And then on top of that, it's very hard to hide an animal of this size.
Oh, I see what you mean, so they're better disguised at night.
Yeah.
So it's got a superior sense of smell?
Yeah, so very good sense of smell. Again, that's useful in daylight, but it's going to be more useful at night when you can't see that far.
Yeah.
So again, we don't know for sure, but it indicates that it could well be good in the darkness.
And as to their colouring, do you think that's dark?
Well, those dark black stripes on the body would really help break up the outline in low light conditions.
So, a bit like a zebra or indeed like a leopard or any sort of animal with some kind of
Spots and
markings.
dapples, yeah, using shadow and highlights to disguise its outline.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? I don't really think it's much of a kind of stealth creature, though.
No, it never will be, but at an incremental advantage, if it allows you to get 10 metres closer, that could be the difference between getting a meal and not.
And then you spring and you pounce. Yeah. Well, before he springs and pounces on us, I'm going to turn the light down. Ooh, I think he's found a target. He may have the element of surprise, but does he have the pace to run down his prey? I'm in the Cretaceous period, on a nocturnal hunt with one of the most fearsome predators of all time. T-Rex is equipped with fantastic senses to help him navigate at night: smell, hearing, and eyesight. And with a bulk like that, darkness is the perfect cover. He's found a likely target over there. A juicy-looking triceratops. But will he be quick enough to catch his prey? In fact, how can we possibly know how fast this, the largest animal ever on two legs, could really move? Evidence may lie with a distant descendant of this king of dinosaurs, the ostrich. And they do have a surprising likeness.
This is an ostrich foot. This is a Tyrannosaurus rex foot. They're very, very similar. If we take the ostrich toe bone and hold it next to the same bone in T-Rex, you can see just how similar they are. The feet are fundamentally built out of the same building blocks.
Paleontologist Dr. Peter Forkingham of Liverpool John Moores University is an expert on dinosaur locomotion. To him, the key to understanding how fast they could run lies in how they support their weight in the first place.
So one of the first things you can see here is that the T-Rex bone, while it's almost the same shape as the ostrich bone, one difference is this divot on the T-Rex bone. And that's where the tendons would have attached. And those tendons would help brace the toe, absorb impacts from the large mass of the T-Rex.
So, shock-absorbing ligaments for support. But what about moving? With a top speed of 70 kilometers per hour, greater than a racehorse, the ostrich is the fastest and largest two-legged animal alive today. To understand how they run, Peter films them in ultra-high speed.
I'll be able to look at really fast motion and slow it down and be able to really quantify the motion. You can see both feet are off the ground at the same time. That means it's a run, not a walk. And we can pause that. And if we start tracking, it will follow that. And you can see quite clearly as it's pushing off, that limb is very, very straight.
For an ostrich to support its weight when running, it keeps its legs as straight as possible and positioned directly under the main mass of its body.
So what you can see as the video plays is that the ostrich is swinging its leg from the knee. Now, an ostrich is about 100 kilos, a T-Rex is 8 tons, so that's really going to have to try and keep its limbs as straight as it can to support its weight.
By applying these ostrich data to a computer model, Peter can simulate how T-Rex ran too.
So this model is showing reconstructed muscle positions on T-Rex's skeleton. And you fire those muscles and you figure out how the bones must have moved to support the weight. So you can see the feet, they're barely off the ground together, so it's only just a run. And you can see that the legs are straight. They're straighter than the ostrich. T-Rex really is pushing the limits of how large you can get and still support yourself on 2 legs. So it's no surprise that it's finding it difficult to run fast.
So how fast could T-Rex go?
10, 15, 20 miles an hour tops. For comparison, an Olympic sprinter would be 27 miles an hour. So it's not as fast as the fastest human, though it's probably faster than me.
Well, it looks like we might be about to see that running speed in action. Our T-Rex is on high alert. He's spotted a lone triceratops over there. This could be an opportunity to see how fast he can go. And I've asked dinosaur expert David Hone to provide a post-match analysis of how the hunt goes down. Well, a successful kill. What were the tactics it uses there against the Triceratops?
So it's going to get in as close as it can, though, as we said, it's pretty difficult at that kind of size. But once it starts going, basically it's relying on distance. It's better over long distances than pretty much anything else that's out there.
Oh, and that's the usual way. It's not about speed like a lion or a cheetah or something.
Yeah, they're not that fast. I mean, animals at this kind of scale, it looks pretty quick because the size of them, but they're not as fast as you would think for an animal that's, you know, an active hunter. But again, the scale of everything, the prey is relatively big and slow as well. And then when they get close, obviously they're mostly striking from behind anyway.
Yeah, it went for the back of the animal.
Yeah, so dinosaurs have basically most of their big leg muscles go from about halfway down the thigh to about halfway down the tail. So that area is a single giant block of muscle. So any kind of bite in there is immediately going to cripple it and stop it running, but also the blood loss and shock and the rest of it is going to be not fatal, but it's not going anywhere.
So it ripped into the sort of rump of the
Yeah.
Triceratops there, didn't it?
And then it's
down.
game over pretty much at that point. We've actually got some more evidence here that T-Rex has been feeding and indeed going past afterwards.
What on earth?
Well, it's what you think it is.
It is, I'm going to use the word, a turd.
It is. This is what they produce.
And this is a genuine one. It's not just a made-up idea, is it? I mean, obviously it's not the real, but is it like fossilized?
Yeah,
poo?
it's based on one, and actually inset are broken bits of bone from a young dinosaur, which is what we found in preserved Tyrannosaur coprolites.
Oh, so it would crunch up on on babies, on junior.
They would indeed. This is mostly what they're eating is youngsters. But we can actually learn some stuff about it from this.
Yeah.
Because the very fact that the bone has passed through, if you looked at something like a crocodile, bone comes out almost as a slurry. The acid is so strong that the bone basically dissolves. It doesn't here, and it's been through a much bigger animal. So its digestive power is not some kind of... It's not some sort of superpower, which I think some people think it is.
So it's a simpler tube, really.
Yeah, but it's just going for a more normal digestion rather than a super bone eater. So again, that harks back to it not being some kind of specialist scavenger that can dissolve bone and get every last bit out of it, because even the bones of babies come through. I think we've learned what we can from this. I'll pop it back.
Do that. Pop the turd back, if you'd be so kind.
And then wash my hands.
Yeah. So we've amassed some terrifying examples of the power of those T-Rex jaws crunching through the bone of a triceratops and passing the remains of baby dinosaurs in its waste. But what would it be like to be on the receiving end of that bite? The crocodile has the most powerful bite of any animal alive today. Its over 1.5-ton nip is powerful enough to crush a human skull. But how strong was T-Rex's bite compared to today's world record holder? To find out, T-Rex's fearsome jaws are being brought back to life with this mechanical replica, capable of exerting the same force as a T-Rex jaw. Operated by University College London engineer and dinosaur enthusiast Dr. Adam Wojcik and paleobiologist Andre Rowe.
I'm a big T-Rex guy. I've been studying a lot of bite forces, and T-Rex's highest bite forces were generally around 4 times as much as the largest modern crocodiles, which is quite scary when you think about it.
And obviously it's going through a whole array of teeth. So you've probably got around about 250 kilograms of force per tooth.
A T-Rex could channel 5 tons of pressure through its teeth. Now, that's going to be pretty destructive. First up in that T-Rex jaw press, a cow skull.
Fantastic.
The bone has definitely exploded.
It's kind of split. You heard the noise.
Yeah, quite the crack. I have no doubt that T-Rex could have done this to any large herbivorous dinosaur back in its heyday.
And probably a lot more as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
The bone is destroyed, but this doesn't come close to what a real T-Rex was capable of.
I think the next thing for us to do is test it on something a little bit more chunky.
Without any dinosaur bodies available to test today, we're going to try something designed to withstand being crushed.
Andre, do you think on the basis of this experiment, T-Rex could actually have chewed its way through a brick?
Well, considering the bite forces and our evidence we have from our tests today, I don't think that it's outside of the question if we somehow brought bricks back to the late Cretaceous. It would be quite a spectacle, that's for sure.
Well, I've discovered this incredible statistic about its bite force, that it's the greatest of any animal that ever lived on Earth. That's kind of over-engineered, because you're talking about the ability to crush bricks. All it needs is a bone, and these are avian bones. Some of them are hollow.
Some of them, but a lot of the herbivores don't have that. And so, of course, for the big things like Triceratops, if you want to break into them or break up the carcass to be able to consume it, then you're going to need a comparable bite power to get through the bones of a huge animal.
Ah, there's a second T-Rex approaching. This could get interesting. I'm in a time near the end of the dinosaurs' reign. I've already seen the scavenging ability of our mighty T-Rex and witnessed an incredible fight with a Triceratops. But it doesn't seem to be alone in this prehistoric wilderness. An outsider has just arrived here in the late Cretaceous period. At first, I thought he was going to fight our T-Rex over its fresh kill. But now, I'm not so sure. Because this dinosaur is in fact a she. Maybe we're about to witness the more loving side of T-Rex. A bit of Tyrannosaurus sex, if you like. Well, that was quick. I wonder if dinosaur expert David Hone can shed any more light on how we could possibly know anything about how tyrannosaurs really mated. Well, they can't be accused of wasting time over the matter, can they?
No, definitely not. But that's pretty common. You know, a lot of modern animals take seconds, really, for this kind of thing.
We saw a bit of sort of muzzling and nuzzling. Do you think that was likely? They sort of rubbed their noses?
Most animals go through some form of courtship ritual, even if it is only a few seconds, and we do at least have plenty of birds that go in for beak rubbing and things like this. There's even been a specific suggestion that tyrannosaurs did this with very sensitive lips.
That's a nice thought. I suppose I can't help mentioning that with all dinosaur coupling, you feel the sheer size. I mean, can the female take the weight?
Well, presumably she would, otherwise we wouldn't have had dinosaurs for 160 million years.
I wonder with the T-Rex as well, those tiny hands, are they enough to help him cling on, as it were?
I'm sure they helped a little bit, but I doubt that's really what the arms were functioning for, because otherwise the females probably wouldn't have had them.
And now, do they stay together and raise their young as a couple?
Very probably. It's likely that mum at least, and quite possibly both, were engaged in looking after the babies after they hatched, as well as looking after the eggs and guarding the nest in the beginning.
Well, these two seem to be getting on very well. But when it comes to T-Rexes, that isn't always the case. Dr. David Gelsthorpe at the Manchester Museum is examining a full-sized replica of Stan, the most complete and valuable dinosaur yet discovered, for clues as to just how violent life was for this king of beasts.
Stan probably wasn't fully grown. He was probably about 20 or 30 years old.
He may be a youngster, yet Stan bears marks of how dangerous life was in the Cretaceous.
There's a hole just up there. It's quite a round, circular hole. I've got a T-Rex tooth, and if you hold it up next to the hole, it fits perfectly. So this is really great evidence for another T-Rex having an encounter with Stan, and the tooth going so far in that it's actually made this puncture wound in the skull.
And there's more evidence of sparring further down the skeleton, too.
On the third vertebra back, there's quite a sort of bulbous, knobbly piece of bone where the T-Rex has had some kind of injury. The bone has grown around this injury. It very likely is evidence of a fight. There probably would have been bigger and more aggressive T-Rexes that were right at the top of the food chain. But he no doubt would have been challenging his way to the top.
And our T-Rex has been in a few fights too. There are scars all over his body, showing that, well, he may be a mean killing machine, but he faces his own dangers. In the next episode, we're going to see how T-Rex face threats from the plant eaters, as creatures like Triceratops used their formidable defenses to fight back. And as these creatures enjoy the heyday of the late Cretaceous, they are completely oblivious to a warning sign in the sky. That bright star is in fact an asteroid, and the extinction of the dinosaurs is hurtling towards a devastating collision which will change the course of the history of life on planet Earth.
More Dinosaur with Stephen next week at 7. With an array of creatures that emerge at all hours, delve into the secret life of the forest. Brand new on Wednesday night at 8. Next tonight on Channel 5 and My 5, Noel decides to spend more time at home. Will that help or hinder Radford life? New 22 Kids and Counting in just a moment.